Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Jan Czerwiński. In a competitive economy, tax optimization has become one of the tools towards success. Questionable ethics aside, it also causes outrage among countries which suffer as a result of such practices. Poland, for its part, has vowed to clamp down on foreign corporations which engage in unfair competition through tax loopholes. But can national governments in general take this stand against the growing power of multinational companies? Joining us now is Bartłomiej Gabryś, lecturer at the University of Economics in Katowice. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation.
So first of all, let's establish one thing. The practices we're talking about, they are questionable, they may be problematic, but they are not, strictly speaking, illegal, which I assume makes it all the more difficult to actually take the fight to corporations using them, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's a kind of game. Yeah, we have multiplayers mode, and one of the players are always the entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurs are always trying to get to the point when they pay the less possible money for taxation as it is possible, and we also assume that this what they do is follow or according to the law regulation that is at the moment in the specific country or in the specific region. So this is what is happening. Of course, on the other side, we have the Ministry of Finance who is telling, come on, guys, we would like to get a little bit more money for the taxes, for the way how you use our infrastructure and so on and so on. But you have also mentioned one important point, that it's the question about this competitive game. Because when we have some organization that could deal or could operate in different regions, different countries with different taxation level, it's very common that what they do is they are looking for advantages of these places where the taxation level is, of course, lower. So it's nothing illegal. It's just looking for how not to pay more than it is absolutely necessary. And it shouldn't be any kind of surprise to us.
So the problem is, the way I understand it, that these tax havens are actually profiting from it, corporations are profiting from it, but the country in which taxes should have been paid, such as Poland, is actually losing out. The taxpayers are losing out as well. Would you say that at this stage there exist sufficient tools to counter these issues, before actually going into details on how corporations are achieving this sort of situation here?
Well, we have some tools, but the point is that at the moment, as I said, it's a kind of game. And in this game, we have rules, and we have those who are imposing those rules, and we have those who are telling, okay, when there is such a rule, so we have this kind of solution to make this obstacle less problematic for us and for our business. So it is a kind of ongoing process. The thing is that as long as we have a different perspective from the different countries when it comes to the different taxation level, different perspective on what is important for the specific country, then we still are going to have this problem. The thing is that it's absolutely, from my perspective and at the moment, really difficult to imagine that we're going to solve the problem globally. Because it's a global problem. It's not just the region, it's not the country, it's a global problem. And from the perspective of globalization, at the moment, there are no tools to make it happen, works efficiently from the perspective of the Ministry of Finance. We can always try to do something, and this is what is happening at the moment. But it's more like a trying, so trying not to lose too much.
What about the global minimum tax, though? Because this is a solution that was adopted at a supranational level. It is actually beginning to become implemented across various jurisdictions. Do you think this could provide a solution, the minimum 15% tax on companies?
Well, I'm not going to focus on how much exactly they should pay, but the point is how many countries you going to use that solution. So that's the most problematic issue in that case. So as we have more and more countries which are involved in that process, then probably it's not a problem. Then the more countries, the more companies will pay that money. The thing is that we don't know at the moment how many of them are going to do that. And as I said a little bit earlier, it's always the question what the specific country is looking for. When the country is looking for any kind of business to be located in the localization of the specific country, then they are trying to convince potential sponsors, potential cooperation to be over there. And one of the way how they do that is through the taxation level and through making those taxation lower than the other countries. And for that reason, we have different perspective, what the countries are looking for. And for that reason, it's going to be quite difficult. Of course, we should try, but as I said, it's a slightly different perspective that we need to deal in case of probably most of the countries which are involved in that process.
Well, you've mentioned countries which effectively operate as tax havens. They offer incentives to head offices of companies, but later on these companies actually create branch offices across the European Union in countries like Poland. And now, this is where the problem really lies, doesn't it? Because these companies within the entire corporate entity, they are using a variety of practices in order to essentially drive their costs up so that there is less of a tax base to actually attach any sort of taxation to, right? Can you tell us more about how it works specifically, including the practice known as transfer pricing, which often appears in the discussion about the taxation of multinational companies in general?
Well, very basically, when we have a company that is operating in many countries, it's quite often that a part of this what can be sold to the country when they are making the money. They are giving higher prices for the things that they are selling to the specific country when they are really making the money, where the taxation is quite high. And the reason for that is, as we said a little bit earlier, not to pay taxes in that specific country when the taxation is high. That's one of the way. The second way is like one of the branches operating in the country where the taxation is high, and in the other country where the taxation is low, when the taxation level is low, they are operating not for the production, not for the providing any kind of jobs for the person who are operating in that country. They are more focusing on selling some parts of the, some brands, some names. And for using those brands and names, they are asking very high price. And when they are asking for this high price, those branches which are operating in these regions or countries, when they are really producing the goods, they really need to pay heavy money for that. And when they pay those heavy money for that, and those money are somehow exported to the countries where the taxation level is low, this is the way how it might work. And this is probably the most common way how it is happening right now when it comes to this transfer prices. And this is how it usually works. Of course, the point is that for those companies which are operating only in one or maybe two countries, it's not going to work that efficiently as for those who get those branches around the world, also in those countries that you call the tax haven.
And again, for the sake of clarity, the problem there is that these companies are performing all those transactions inside the corporate group. So they can say, well, these are our internal matters, and because of that, it is not transparent. Well, the Polish government, for example, says, okay, you need to use market prices for all those services and management fees instead of prices which are arbitrary and designed to avoid taxation in our country, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But the point is that every single time the government, in that case, the government need to prove that how much the company pay for the specific things, for the specific items, was somehow lower than the market prices. So basically, the job of the government is to prove that, hello, guys, this is not the prices that we actually have on our market. You need to use those prices instead of the prices that you have and you are using inside of your corporation. So here we have it's not going to happen just like that. It's going to happen because of the active role of government that need to watch over it and make those things be less painful for the taxes that the government collect.
One last question, because this also pops up in relation to the topic, even though it only covers some of these companies. The digital services tax, could this help, at least when it comes to the so-called big tech sector?
Well, it's a kind of things that is still developing. So we're going to see in the future. I don't have like a direct answer for that. It's one of the options that we have on the table. And to be honest, I prefer not to say that it's going to be useful or not useful. I think it is something that we still are implementing and trying to find how it works. Maybe, but still, as I said, there are some countries for which it's not going to work anyway. And we're still going to have companies which are still going to choose those countries because of the taxation level that is still lower in those countries. So at the moment, it's a kind of option. It could work, but let's wait a little bit and then we see the results.
Bartłomiej Gabryś was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news, updates and commentary.